Welcome back to the Toolbox podcast. We are chatting here, not live. I used to do these live as live streams, but I'm starting to feel like just doing them ahead of time or doing doing more of like a planned video on my own time rather than having a set time every Friday might work out better. But I also like the idea of it forcing me to do a video every Friday. But welcome back. We've got a special guest today on this episode. My friend, Garrett King. Garrett and I have been longtime digital friends, and this is the first time we're meeting in person. First time I really kind of met most of the people that we've been kind of meeting online in person. So Garrett is a photographer, among a lot of things, a photographer, a creator, also a CPG marketing master. We can talk about stuff like that. And I'm excited to just chat with you and chat about why you're even in New York too.
Man, thank you for having me. It's fun, you get to know people, but parasocially.
Yeah.
We've chatted before, we've been on the phone. I've watched tons of your videos. I admire your work greatly. You've given me some great advice along the way. And we've also, I think, kind of boosted each other up. And so what a cool thing it is to get to meet somebody face to face. I just think it's awesome.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I feel like one of the hard things about social friendships in general, not including online friendships, is that it's hard to align goals and find friends that have the same goals as you, or find friends that have the same interests as you. And oftentimes, like your friends growing up or the friends you find in college are friends because of proximity or friends because of happenstance. But like these kind of online friendships are very intentional friendships. Like this person is a creative that also has the interest of doing content, like trying to, grow a business.
I completely agree with that. And I think the internet has its downsides. No question. There are many. But one of the things that's great is it's an amazing tool for me to find people that have the same level of drive or similar aspirations or like the same things I like. My guess is we're probably in the same general age bracket. I don't know.
How old are you?
I'm 36.
I'm 32.
Okay, so we're reasonably close. Yeah. And I find that the older I get, the more and more different my life to my friends' lives are. It doesn't change our friendship at all, but they want different things out of life. And that's awesome. So it's really cool to be able to find some people. You're a great example. Chasing same things I'm chasing.
Yeah, I agree. Photography.
Yeah.
Let's chat. Why are you in New York? What brought you out here?
Yeah, man, I had a couple of things. And it's a bit of both. And I think this has been one of the nice things about life the last few years is I had some things that I needed to come out to for my regular day job, which I'm happy to get into if you guys to talk about it. And then I also had a few shoots that I wanted to sort out too, and just a couple of fun projects. And I think you compound that with the fact that I lived here in my early 20s. So I've got some old friends that just really fun to see, like my old buds, It was just a good opportunity to come across multiple things, but all of them cool in their own way.
That's sweet. Yeah. So were you able to, have day job, work, pay for trip, hotel, all that kind of stuff. And then, hey, I'm going to be in the city. Let's line this shoot up. Let's line this shoot up. Let's do some things while we're here.
That's exactly my approach. It's no, I needed to come out here Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah.
That's when I had stuff I actually had to do. So I flew it on Monday because, you lose so much time when you come from the West Coast. And I decided to stick around until Sunday. Like I said, friends, shoots, etc. I knew I was going to get a chance to see you. So I think that's been, not only has it been fun and it's an opportunity to see new places, but also it's helped me shoot some of the work that I've shot because I get a chance to go different places, work with different people, different scenery, etc. And it's fun to drop down into a new market and try to create something from scratch,
Yeah.
It's cool.
So your day job, you work in marketing. Where are you at?
So I work on the advertising team for Mars. So most people know Mars as the candy bar company, I work on a different division that I think less people know that we have. It's the pet care business.
Oh,
so
cool.
dog and cat food brands, mostly Pedigree, Iams, etc. Mass market brands.
Mars, how long have you worked at Mars?
Yeah, sure. I've been at Mars 8.5 years. Yeah. And my whole career has been consumer goods. I went to college at University of Arkansas, and that may not, for most, that's not going to resonate. But the reason I make that point is that's where Walmart is from. So a really disproportionate number of the jobs for business grads there, they're in that vendor community, people that sell to Walmart. So I spent about 5 years working for an English company called Reckitt Benckiser, household brands like Lysol, Mucinex, Finish dishwasher detergent, Air Wick, just household beauty, personal care, things like that. And then back in 2016, I got an opportunity to move to Mars, and I've been with them for 8 years. It's a tremendous company.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was 2016. So I started as a junior art director in 2018 at Energy BBDO. And it was like SC Johnson, Mars, Wrigley, Bayer. So even on like the pharmaceutical side of things, all that stuff. Well, Kindred.
There are similarities to our paths, and the list of similarities is growing.
So what's your role at Mars?
So I look after retail media, which is, I mean, you know what I'm talking about. Like anytime you look on a retailer's website, you search for something, what have you, the sponsored products listings, generally that's me and my group. So in addition, if you ever see a banner ad that chases you around for something that you looked at but you didn't buy, that's also probably us.
And what about photography? When did you start getting into photography? And because these careers, they're tangential, but they're like, there's kind of like a gap between this one path in marketing and craft and photography side of things.
You're exactly right.
They're different.
They're super different. There's some overlap, but yeah, they're really different. I always like taking pictures as a kid. So like when I look back at my downloaded archive from Facebook, I had a little Canon point and shoot with a flash on it that I took loads of pictures of my friends in high school and in college. And then, when I got out of school in my early 20s, I did put that away for a long time. And I didn't pick up a camera again until I was probably in my mid 20s. So maybe 10 years ago or so. And it was Casey Neistat that inspired me.
Yeah, what? Another similarity.
I completely get it. Like when I saw those videos, like Make It Count, like the Nike Fuel Band ad, and I think a lot of young people felt the same way, especially in that moment. He was so inspiring for so many reasons. And so I bought a Canon CD, but it wasn't to take pictures. It was like, I want to become a video creator. Dude, I flopped miserably, not because the work wasn't good. I just didn't like doing it.
Oh, wow.
It didn't speak to me.
And then keeping it up and being consistent.
I couldn't do it, and I didn't enjoy editing, and just some creative pursuits click for somebody and some don't, and that's okay. So I didn't pick up the camera for a while, and I got back to painting, which I had done a little bit in college, like just really bad abstract art, like knockoff Jackson Pollock shenanigans, like not good. And I was doing that a lot in Nashville when I lived there in my mid-20s. And the moment that kind of pushed me to get into photography and mostly taking pictures of people was when I left Nashville to move to Phoenix. And I didn't get my security deposit back on my apartment in Nashville because I got too much paint on the walls. And so I was like, it dawned on me, I need a creative outlet that's less messy. And I'm moving to a new place. Might be nice to try to do something that helps me make some friends. So something just kind of gut instinct. I was like, maybe I'll start taking pictures of people.
And did you still have that camera?
Still have.
Collecting dust in your closet.
Pulled that thing out of the closet. And I went to a workshop in Venice Beach from a photographer I really admired.
Again, you were living in Phoenix.
Yeah.
Took a drive out to Venice.
Drove out to Southern California one weekend. And I thought this guy at the time was really talented. He rented a little bungalow house in Venice Beach one day. And I don't know, probably 8 to 10 photographers that wanted to learn the craft went in. And right then I was like, yes, I just knew. Sometimes you just know. Have you had that?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like it happened earlier on. It was when I was in high school that like video editing was the thing that like really clicked for me. And this was the thing I never stopped doing. But yeah, that's fascinating.
It just resonated to you.
So that workshop, is that where you learned Flash?
That is not where I learned Flash. That dude was all 100% natural. Yeah. I don't know how I learned how to do that. It was YouTube University. That's really what it was, which I can't say that for all the skills that I've built. Like I've gone to a lot of workshops because I think it's really densely packed learning in a short time span. So I'm a big fan of that.
And it's transactional too. Like I want to learn this, going to take this workshop. And I know by the end of the workshop, I'm going to be able to get those skills that, they're advertising.
I completely agree. Like, you can learn so much in a short amount of time. And if you actually take notes in workshops, which is, you would be surprised how few people actually do it.
Yeah.
Well, you just spent the money. Like, what are you going to do? You going to remember all this?
Yeah.
I know I'm not. But you can learn so much. Flash, I have no idea how it happened. All I can really probably put together is I knew I loved that aesthetic, felt like an old film, like an old point and shoot with a flash built in. And I wanted to try to replicate that. One of like those very early art direction examples, which now the story is kind of a dark rabbit hole, but the approach to lighting that American Apparel took way back when we were in our 20s, obviously a lot went very wrong with them, but just in terms of lighting.
Do you consider it kind of your bread and butter now? Like when you go into shoots, are you usually doing Flash?
often. I sometimes worry, and I think like a lot of creatives probably feel this way. When you develop like a tenet of your craft and something that you do a lot, sometimes I worry that is that too much of a crutch? Like I was shooting in Los Angeles with a really good photographer. I was kind of working over his shoulder last December, and my initial gut instinct, based on what the lighting pattern was like, was use flash. And he did literally the polar opposite, which was not only use flash to counteract the shadows, but put the subject facing towards you with the sun directly behind their back. And I was like, you would never want to do that. They'll be backlit. And he goes, no, trust me. And then he showed me how he does it. And I thought,
Like, good.
that's so good.
That's so interesting.
Yes. And I felt like I was so sure that my way was the right way. And then I saw the absolute opposite way, which I thought I needed to avoid, and it was beautiful. Like that?
Yeah, no, I think about that. Today, specifically, I was thinking about niches or niche or however you learn to pronounce it. And someone said, the nicher you go, the more you'll grow. The nicher you go, the more you grow, or something like that, where like just the big proponent of like get as niche as you can. And that's how you're going to grow an audience, grow as a creator. I don't know exactly whether she was just talking to creators or talking to experts and specialists.
Sure.
I think that's just such a nuanced conversation because I don't know if I agree that the nicher you go, the more you'll grow. It's like the nicher you go, literally, the smaller your field of expertise is going to be. So that can put you, that's obviously going to put you more in high demand because you're more unique. Growth, it depends on your goals. Like maybe you want to cast a wider spread or have a larger audience, or I don't know. It's just such a nuanced conversation. So I definitely think about like the crutches of like going too much into specific style and things like that.
What's your gut tell you? Like, because I see both sides too, and I'm not sure if I agree with that take either. I understand it, but I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. Like I have found that I don't like to get pigeonholed. I don't like to just do one thing. So the nicher I go, the more bored I get. So that's one like personal problem. The more specialized I get in a certain thing, I don't know. I feel like the market for it is also smaller. Like you have to have specific people who want that very specific thing. And so I think it just has to be more of a complex conversation than just like, go more niche. Like everyone's just yelling niche everywhere. And I think it's more like, look, I am an expert at Flash, but look at all these other things that I'm also like dabbling in, or I don't know, different things like that. But at the same time, it's like, if I'm known, like I'm thinking about you too. So it's like, you're known for like a lot of your photography is, Western, Americana, like American grit, Flash, different things like that. Those are the words that kind of come to mind. And so, when that comes to mind, like when a creative director, art director needs a photographer to shoot that style, obviously it's like, get the guy who's good at that thing. But I don't know.
Man, this topic is so present for me right now. And because I see the value of both sides. Like on one hand, let's use you as an example. You have really built a cool platform for yourself and so much growth for you, at least since I've known you, by just being useful to people who are maybe, I think, a few steps behind the creative journey where you're at right now. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like you're talking to yourself 2 or 3 years ago, and let me show you the way and light your path a little bit more. I could see on one hand how you might feel, I just got to keep doing that. But there might be other things that you want to do. Like I saw a video you did recently about the release of the World Cup poster. To me, I thought that was a nice example of it's still very much in your wheelhouse. Like art direction is a big term, you know what I mean? But you were talking about the way that they approach this thing visually. But also, it wasn't about giving tools away or anything like that. So like I viewed that as you're bringing your own style to something else. One example in my craft, which I think is like so inspiring, and it had a big impact on me, is one of my favorite commercial photographers in the world is a guy named Jeff Valet. He's from LA, but I think he lives in New York now. Anyway, he's exceptional. He's so good. Works for massive clients, Samsung, Bose. Big dogs, like brands I would love to work for someday. One time, he just got access to professional bull riding and shot the most beautiful rodeo short film that I've ever seen. It was so shocking in how much I was gravitated towards it. It's what made me get into shooting rodeos. I saw it immediately I was like, I have to be that person, So I thought that was a really good example of like, that guy doesn't know anything about shooting rodeos, but he brought his own style to it. And it was gorgeous. I don't have all the answers, clearly. but maybe there's magic in it interests me and it's close enough. So I'm going to bring my style to it. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think that's 100% it. And I try to avoid the cliche kind of quotes and phrases, but there is, like, a lot of people do say, like, you are the niche. That kind of mantra of, like, just ignore the niche. You are the niche does help a little bit, because I feel like we just overthink things a lot. Like, oh, should I talk about the World Cup? It's like, I love soccer. I want to talk about it, but will my audience care about it? And it's like, maybe if I just ignore the whole strategy of it and just do what I'm interested in, there will naturally, overlaps will naturally emerge somehow. And that's interesting, because it's like, you probably wouldn't have seen that photographer do any sort of rodeo bull riding thing at all. But if you look at it afterwards, I bet you could probably look at some of his style of shooting and things and maybe point out, like, oh no, there's some overlaps here that I wouldn't have expected, but there is overlap. Sure. It's just that we just think of niche and industry and genre and, like, the typical categories, and it's like, it's all the other categories too, like out of the way you shoot photography.
Oh yeah,
things like that.
I mean, I think your example is perfect, because one of the things that I noticed about that bull riding thing he shot is he does a good job of using angles that aren't eye level, like 45 degrees kind of down, 45 degrees kind of up. Like, his framing is always so interesting and feels cinematic. He made that professional bull riding thing feel super cinematic. So his style, he imprinted it on this thing he had no idea how to shoot, but it felt like him.
And that style, that kind of like 45-degree angle or top-down type stuff, he does on other,
man,
like the Samsung product.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you start to see that and you're like, I love, perfect example. Like, I think maybe headphones on a basketball court.
Yeah.
Not just going to shoot like this, but so he's up on a ladder or something down like this. And so you see the lines of the basketball court. It's like it's great visual framing.
Yeah.
He brought kind of that same aesthetic to where, like, he's not at this level with the cowboy. He's shooting it down like that.
I love
So there's similarities, It's like his imprint was on it. I don't know.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Do you, there's one thing that I think about often is style. And a lot of people ask, like, how do you find a style? And I'm not necessarily asking you that, but some people will say, like, oh, this is definitely your style, or your comments that I get are like, oh, wow, that's very much in your style or in your world. And I don't even know what my style is. Is there any, like, words or ways that you would describe your style?
Let me try.
Yeah.
You used a couple of words, like, I use flash frequently, maybe a little bit more like grit to my images. I leave a lot of grain in my images. There's nothing polished about my work. Like, I'm the worst retoucher. It's just so bad.
Lean into that.
Truly, I might open Photoshop 5 times a year. Maybe.
And now you don't have to, because Lightroom has so much stuff in there. Are you using Lightroom?
Lightroom is my bread and butter. But, like, unless it's minor retouching, I'm probably not doing it. So I try to cook as much as possible as I can in the camera. And I'm like a speed over perfection guy. Like, there are pro photographers out there, and for a full day's campaign, they'll deliver 25 images for 10 hours worth of work. I don't know if I could ever be that guy. I'm going to send you 150. But they're way more flawed than, like, had I only sent you 20, Other people, they're so much better at precision, fine tuning, getting it perfect. I'm jazzed. Like, that's not always the right thing. I'm not right for every brand. Back to your question on style, I do have some thoughts on that, like how you find it.
Yeah. What do you think?
It's a simple answer, but it's not an easy answer. It just takes work. Like, I remember the first few years, like, I wonder what my style is. What do I want my style to be? Oh, what a heavy question to have on your shoulders. Yeah. It stinks. And I think the only way is just a volume of work. And if I could give one more piece of advice to anyone in whatever creative discipline it is, when you see something you like, try to break it down. Why do you like it? And, like, build around that. So, for example, I saw this awesome editorial for Men's Health magazine a couple of years ago, and it was with Method Man. Method Man? Redman? Method Man. And it was awesome. It was all these, like, super fast moving portraits. Like, there's this one like this where he's boxing like this. They're shooting with flash. The flash is on the camera. It's like crackling with motion. And I was like, my God, I want more of that in my work. So then I started trying to build around the one thing I liked about that, which was, like, almost like they approached a fitness shoot with a very editorials or maybe like a paparazzi lens. Like this, you know what I mean? Like, they just walked out of a club or what have you. And they flash, motion, super tight. And so that's like a piece of inspiration or something that sits on my mood board, is like that sort of framing and composition and, like, chaoticness. You can also draw from movies. Like, I saw this amazing Canadian photographer, Patrick Tomaso. He's a fabulous YouTuber. And I love how like don't give a flip he is about the YouTube algorithm now. Like he's gone bad guy.
Like so many of those guys.
He's so great. But he did this thing about how he was very inspired by what's the Robert Redford movie about Watergate? All the King's Men? It's really good. It's good. It's so cinematic, especially like the shots of when they're in the parking garage. Really? It's super contrasty. Like it's minute.
Yeah.
Oh, you got to watch it. Dustin Hoffman, Robert Redford, tremendous movie. They're Woodward and Bernstein, like the guys that crack Watergate. It's wild. But anyway, he was inspired by this one scene in this movie, and he just like tread Toronto to try to find a way he could get a shot that felt similar. And he found it at this train station. This movie that's like 40 years old. It was like a real source of inspiration for him. He took that one note. How could I recreate that?
Wow.
It's a volume of work, I think.
Yeah.
It ain't so pretty, but it's just like,
you should do the work.
I shot hundreds of free shoots. Hundreds. It took 8 years before I made any money at all.
Paparazzi style stuff. That is something that is so like something that I would put as like your style. Like that is something I noticed. Like you could say flash, but that like is saying that's pretty technical, and flash photography is a pretty wide range of things. It really is like that paparazzi style where you can say like, yeah, we're out and about, but they're like mid movement, or, you know, we've got the flash, and the flash is visible. It's one of like the subjects of it's not like invisible. It's not, you're not hiding the flash.
It's mainly that. That's another thing. You mentioned it. I make it very clear in a lot of my work. Like you can clearly tell I'm using artificial light. Absolutely. There are many other world-class photographers out there that go the exact opposite. And their approach to using artificial light is like, I just want to mimic natural light, or I want to mimic the sun, or what have you. And there is gorgeous, amazing work where that's people's approach. I'm not as good at that.
That's awesome.
But I would love to build that skill.
Yeah.
Because you want to be able to do that when you need to.
That's smart. And that's like, you know, maybe that's like a really interesting tactic is what are your weaknesses? And that's your style. When I think about myself, I'm not I do a lot of drawing, but I'm not good at it. Like I am not a good illustrator. That's why all of my drawing, animation stuff are messy, because I'm like, I'm okay. I'm just impatient. And so I just lean into the weakness of like, not a good illustrator, so I'm just going to make this rough or whatever. Or I'm going to animate and I'm going to make it the scribbliest animation ever. And that just makes me think of like, you know, style, photography, and just artists in general. It's like, use your weaknesses as a style.
That's cool to hear you say that, because I think that's maybe something we have in common is like,
exactly.
We seem to be maybe the type of people that will bias a little bit more towards like speed and reps versus perfection. I don't know. Like I can't sit and stare at an image for an hour.
Yeah. That's another thought I've had is like, wow, we have very similar feelings about different things. Then.
Yeah.
Like I haven't been like in the photography world as like a practitioner recently, but in the drawing, animation, illustrating, those exact same things apply to me, where I'm like, man, I'm terrible at this, but you know, I'm just gonna work it into, I'm just gonna mold it in a way that works for me or something like that.
And if you like, I think it's easy to spin that as a positive too, in that because you don't fall prey to perfectionism, your ability to crank out a volume of work is probably better as a result, because you're less attached to any one practice rep. Man, get it out the door. I don't know.
No,
probably some merit to that.
That's 100% it. I want to ask you about your tools. So we talked about Lightroom, and you use Flash to avoid Photoshop at all costs. Any other creative tools you use?
Yeah.
What are you shooting on?
Yeah, my camera. If you see any of my work, unless I specifically say that it's film, I'm shooting on a Sony A7 IV with my one lens, typically a 24 to 70 millimeter from Sigma.
Well,
yeah, not the nicest.
Great.
Probably bought it for $800 a few years ago. I feel good about it. Like, could I upgrade? Yeah, but I'm good enough now.
And you shared a link, I remember, of a flash thing you can use, and you can get it on Amazon or something like that.
To me, there's so many different ways you can approach it. How much power do you want? How light and packable do you want it to be? Like, there's always trade-offs with these. For me, there's really two flashes that I use, unless I'm in a studio and I'm renting lots of lights. And that would be a Godox V1S, or, because I have a Sony, or an Godox 8200. I know there are people out there that like Profoto lights a lot. To me, I might just not have a discerning eye enough to spend 3, 4, 5 times as much. I'm also kind of rough on my gear. I break things. I didn't want to have to be bummed about a $1,500 flash that I dropped and shattered. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let me get a $200 or $300 light. Still a lot of money, but it stings less if something goes wrong, because it does go wrong.
In terms of, tools, things that you do on a shoot, you talked about different angles. What are your like go-tos?
If I'm shooting for a brand, or like I have a really clear vision, I'll oftentimes have some semblance of a shot list, and it's nice to be able to refer back to that. If it's a test and it's just jazz and we're figuring it out, I fly pretty close, like super freewheeling.
Yeah.
And we just find our way. And when I'm doing that, what I'm usually trying to do is get a mix of different focal lengths, like full body portraits of somebody, maybe 3/4 length, maybe kind of collarbone, sort of headshot height, what have you. And I think, the styling and the atmosphere, the background, those will all kind of shape whether you need all three of those or what have you. And I'm also, since you've been creating videos longer than I have, but I'm also thinking about that behind the scenes. Like I've got behind the scenes video. I want to try to be able to get, sometimes there's a specific video that I know that I want to hit, and I'll try to shoot that at some point along the way. That's kind of how I think about it on set. It's by no means the most structured approach.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you do any motion or video for any of your photography stuff?
No, this is like probably one of my biggest weaknesses. I'm very comfortable holding down the shutter button and stitching them together as a GIF.
Yeah.
That's about it. Like my chops on actually shooting video with a proper camera, 0 out of 10. It's very intimidating to me. And when I'm working and trying to get still images, I don't even think about it. It's still so foreign.
Yeah.
I know I need to get it. It's been a New Year's resolution for 5 years.
I just think about it more so because in recent years, it seems like a lot of clients are constantly wanting some sort of GIF or, just like stitch a burst together for Instagram or something like that. And I've been seeing more and more photographers start to almost just instead of taking a video approach, just taking a photography approach to their motion. So it's let's, if we got a hand model or something, let's just have them place the thing. And it's literally that's it's a photo, but it's now a moving photo.
Sure.
But yeah, no, I've just been seeing that more and more. So curious, how much you're thinking about motion or Jeff.
I need to more, because I'm a stills guy. I always will be, but I don't want to be a 0 out of 10 on moving images.
Right.
I want to be dangerous enough. Am I ever going to be a DP or a cinematographer or what have you?
And you are dangerous in video in a different way. We both started doing content. We took the same Cut 30 course in July, and you've grown a following. Tell me about your journey into content, and maybe we'll wrap this up with talking about you as a creator.
Sure.
I'm interested in what
All right.
the journey's been.
Let me set the scene. Super hot summer day, Bentonville, Arkansas, last summer. And I was walking from my hotel to get something to eat at Torchy's Tacos, which I did.
Torchy's.
I
love Torchy's.
Dude, what a delight. I miss it terribly. Oren had just started making YouTube videos, and it was kind of early days, but he had a phrase in there, and I had seen a couple of his other things, but it hadn't compelled me to make a move. And he said a phrase that I think I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. That's not hyperbole. I really mean it. He said, "It is a skill learning how to make content that moves well on the internet." And when I heard that, I felt, it's going to sound so serious, but I felt the burden of the last 7 or 8 years of being a photographer that had really put a lot of work into trying to develop the craft, which I love, but I had a very small audience. My stuff did not travel well. There was never any sort of inbound opportunities with brands or clients or what have you. I felt like a nobody, and I kind of wasn't. I'm still small time, but and I would just realize that I'm fed up with being a failure. I know I've made some beautiful stuff. I feel good about my portfolio, as good as any artist can. You always want to get better. But I was just tired of not being good at this. I was tired of not being able to make stuff that moved well on the internet. So I signed up that night, and it was June, early July, whenever we started class. That class changed my life. I'm not fooling. It was so fun to meet you guys, kindred spirits, people chasing the same kind of thing together, but in different ways. And I just started hammering it. And I made so many crappy videos. There's so much junk in that feed. But through that, you kind of build the capability. Some of them worked. And it's been super gratifying in a few areas. You want me to hit them now?
Yeah.
Number one, I feel like I'm helping people. Being able to be a positive, some level of tailwind in other creative people's journey upward, dude,
Feels good.
it's so awesome. You do the same thing. Look how many people you've helped get 1% better at something, So I really take heart from that. I also have really been so surprised in a positive way at the creative connections that it's opened for me. Like, there are photographers that I have admired for years that I felt like they're on such a different level than me. And I've been able to make friends with some of them just because of video. Like, people kind of learn your face and what have you. I don't know. It's
Like when one of them starts following you and you're like, oh my gosh, they're just like us.
regular person. Yes. So I've had a lot of those moments. And then the third thing is it's resulted in actual opportunities coming my way. Like, there are brands that never would have seen me in the past that found me through some video, looked at my work and said, we like you enough to pay you to do this thing that you love. And it's not a lot of money. It's a lot of money for me, but I just feel like this last year has been so impactful. And I just feel like brimming with excitement about what could be true in the future. So I don't know. That's how I am.
Do you regret starting at all?
Golly, no.
Right? Like you look back and it's like, I can't imagine not making that decision.
Yeah,
Just do it.
you're exactly right. And I don't have any regrets, but I have learnings, and it's stress less about the numbers, stay connected more to the process than the results. Don't worry about any one video, just keep getting better, getting the reps in, etc. Because you think about it a lot, but no, amazing choice. One of my best decisions.
That's awesome. Yeah. Your photography career is also moving alongside like your main career. What's your goal with both? Would you prefer to keep it, it's more than a hobby for you. Would you prefer to keep it like that so that, it still stays fun, or would you rather to, the different thing?
Good question.
How are you thinking of that?
It's a really good question. And I think anybody in the creative field that also has a 9 to 5 probably thinks about this a lot. For me, I like having those parts of my life and some level of separation, because I found that if I have a crappy day at work, it's really nice to have something else that I might be having some success at. And if creatively not getting the traction that I want, or work is not coming in, or my videos just flop for like a week in a row,
Well, hey, I still got a job.
I've got something else I can pour my attention into and try to be successful at. So like, for me right now, I'm happy, I have 2 really good different pursuits in my life, and I like having them both.
Yeah, people talk a lot about diversity of income streams, but also just diversity of, your interests and your careers, I think are a big thing. Like we met right when I had just started kind of taking short form more seriously, but I'd also been doing content and YouTube stuff on the side for a lot longer. And I've only found positive things from doing stuff on the side, like doing both. And eventually you can choose to do just one or the other, but also you can just continue doing one thing part-time, another thing full-time, or one thing part-time, another thing part-time forever. And I think that's huge because you never know. Now you've got this where, if by chance you get laid off, or, something happens, like, well, I have this skill. I can always, if I can't get a job in this, I got this. I think that's super powerful.
On that note, it's been really cool to watch you, because you just took a huge leap in your own life. And so, obviously, even before I met you today, we were friends, and I'm rooting so hard for your success.
Appreciate it.
And you strike me as multiple revenue streams are starting to materialize for you. Some may be bigger than others, of course, but like, I love just seeing the poker chips you're putting on the table. You know what I mean? Or like the chips you're putting at different parts of the craps table. You know what I mean? You're placing your bets. Not all of them will probably work, but some are definitely going to work. And I'm really enjoying watching you. And I guess it makes me wonder, like, how are you feeling right now at this stage of your journey? Is it a question?
Yeah, no, total fair question. I feel like I'm placing a lot of different bets, and I'm getting to the point where I have to start leaning in on certain bets, like putting things all in on one direction or the other. And in some ways I did. Like, I just quit my job and I went all in on working for myself. But I also, in doing that, was like, you know what? I'm going to take some freelance gigs if I need to. I'm going to do some content on the side, take some brand sponsorships, also try to do digital products. And it's been surprising how quickly your time can get sucked away. And I'm starting to feel like, okay, like if I know freelance gigs can be there, why focus on that right now when I'm really curious about being a creator? And so I'm starting to shift more to being like 80, 90% I'm a creator. I talk about art direction because I have this experience in it. And I should probably continue to do art direction projects and freelance here and there to make sure I'm staying up with it.
Yeah.
But I'm feeling really optimistic about just being a creator, and that excites me.
It seems like it strikes me as the domino that starts to tip over a lot of other dominoes when you get it right. And clearly that seems to be the case for you. Yeah, I don't know. I'll put my bets on you too.
Appreciate it. Well, enough about me. This has been a really awesome chat. I'm so glad we had like one of our biggest, longest conversations together on video, recorded for a podcast, because I just think it's so fun to have these conversations and then be able to share that with others. Like, hey, let's hear what two people trying to figure things out as creators, as creatives, what they sound like, what are they talking about, what are they trying to figure out, and it also, like, I feel like makes me feel better, when I talk with you about things you struggle with and things that like as a challenge for you here or there.
Yeah,
it makes me feel better, like, oh, I'm not the only one who freaking doesn't have doesn't know what their style is, or doesn't have these weaknesses or that weakness, that kind of stuff. So yeah, thank you so much. Any party words? Or
I think my only thought would be, is there are real highs and lows of being a creative person, painter, writer, photographer, whatever your craft is. Yeah. Just keep going. Whatever it is you do, like, don't have long times in your life where you just don't do anything, like where you just let your dream wither, or, I mean, it gets in the way. I know that, but like the faster you can get back on the horse, I don't know.
Keep riding.
Yeah, the moments I regret, but like I've had long stretches where I was afraid to put something up on the internet that I shot for months. I feel self-conscious, and you get in this rhythm of not being in a rhythm. There's power in the practice reps.
Yeah, that's the only regrets I have are I regret overthinking too much, and I regret letting my embarrassment or confidence get in the way of just getting back on the horse.
Yeah.
Like, I took a month off of podcasting, and then it was like started to feel like, oh, I could record something again. I want to do this all year long, but I just kept thinking, like, I don't know this. I kept finding excuses to not get back on the horse, and it's like you're gonna go through ups and downs, but just keep going, get back on.
Easier said than done, but it is the right answer.
It is the only answer. You got to just keep going.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. This was really fun.